Hello, hello, hello. How are we all this fine evening? I hope I'm not just shouting off into the distance and there's nobody there. give me a cheer in the chat if you're ready for this very overdue 400 subscriber special. That's of course when my throat immediately dries up when I'm trying to start again, that kind of thing. What are we doing? I'm just checking that yeah, there we go. That audio is working well enough. So obviously I've been gone a little while, and I hope you've not missed me too terribly. I'm sure you have, and I'm sure you've been wondering what's been going on if you've not been in the loop. Well, actually I don't really keep anyone in the loop, other than like the odd person, but I think I did put out a Patreon and a Twitter post when I decided I was going to take a break to say that I would be gone, and I understand that not everybody follows me on those things, so I apologise to the people on YouTube who have sort of left in the dark a little bit, I suppose. I guess like if there's no videos, then it just means clearly I'm not going to be making videos. Like I'm not on a definitive schedule. I'm not like a massive YouTuber who's relying on this for his source of income, sort of thing. So, it is very much just a sort of a hobby. But yeah, just to mention I don't know why my throat's suddenly dried up all of a sudden, but maybe it's a sign. But yeah, so bloody hell, what is going on with my throat? Okay, let's try again. So I have recently started a proper, basically full-time job, working at a cinema, just to sort of get me through the year. My initial sort of plan is to sort of, because I was meant to be doing my master's course at university this year, but because I basically ran out of money, I thought I'd take a year out, work, and go back. So it's basically a sort of a year-long, well, half a year at this point, I suppose, commitment to sort of earning myself a bit of keep. So it's going well. I quite enjoy the job, but it is quite tiring, especially considering I've basically gone into full-time employment from nothing really beforehand for like the first, well, I started at the end of October, so before that it was sort of like me being not really doing much during the day and then having the time to record stuff, and then all of a sudden, hey Ron, all of a sudden I was working like the vast majority of the hours of the day, so it's knackering in itself for that, and also just to find the time to record or stream or anything like that. So I was dealing with those two things, and then sort of my mental health sort of fell apart earlier this month. Like I had a bad do with it basically, and basically lost a lot of motivation for everything really, including YouTube, including my passion for other things such as like history, stuff like that. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but just know that about when I saw, I think it was a little bit after I stopped uploading. That was mostly because of the things I was saying, like I just ran out of time to record stuff. Hey everyone, how's it going? After I started, I just ended up falling behind on it, and then everything fell apart there, and then I was just sort of like, right, you know what, I need to just stop. I need to take my break because I can't keep focusing on YouTube when I've got other things to prioritise, other things. So I've just been taking a massive break and trying to focus on working at the moment and trying to figure out what it is that I want, which I do love YouTube, and there is no way I'm going to abandon it, especially after all the hours and commitment that I've put into this channel over the years. I just needed a big break from it, to be honest. I just couldn't. I needed to focus on other things rather than worrying about getting videos up on time, which I never did for like the past few months anyway, because I'm meant to be doing my 10 videos a week on Monday morning, evening, Tuesday, when, you know, and putting up the Patreon posts and everything like that. And I've completely fallen behind on that. And then there's a voice in my head that says like, oh, you've got to record, and I think, but I just want to chill out after work. I'm tired, and it's like, no, you need to record because you've not recorded the videos for tomorrow. You've not edited this video and that video, and then it's just So I just said, you know what, I'm just taking a break, and yeah, like I said, I apologise for the people on YouTube who might not have known what was going on. And I think a lot of people kept checking in on that last video I uploaded, which was a Simpsons game one, because that's got a lot of views on it. Like, a lot more than any of the other videos around it. So I don't know if people sort of going in it and checking if I'd left a comment or anything like that. And people did. I genuinely had some quite nice comments. People saying like, oh, I hope you're okay. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just taking a bit of a break. It's like, oh, I hope you come back soon and I hope you're well. I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then you get other comments like, are you alive? And I'm like, I think so. Last time I checked. Possibly. I don't know. Might have to take it up with my supervisor though. So, yeah. But anyway, so this is way overdue. I think we reached 400 in November, I think. Oh, I can't remember exactly when I hit 400 subscribers, but this had been the plan the entire time, and then it just so happened that I took my break and I didn't end up actually doing the celebration video I wanted to. So I'm basically nicking this idea straight from Ron. He did the video where he went through all of his Let's Plays that he's done, and then had a whole, but he had his whole like set up, and he knew exactly where he was putting everything before he even started it, and it was a whole thing. And I just thought, yeah, I'm feeling going to do that, but I'm going to do it completely off the cuff. So there's basically nothing planned about this except that I've got a list of the order of which I started every Let's Play, which actually is a lot. So you can see it's filled up one side, and then another side, and then there as well. So that is every Let's Play that I've done on this channel in the order of which I started it. I was going to do it in the order that I finished it, but then it sort of goes all over the place because then, you know, it just gets confusing sometimes. So yeah, I've done that, and then of course, as you can see, these panels are every single Let's Play, no matter how long or short. Some of them were one episode, some of them were about 200 and odd. So yeah, every single game that is a playlist on my YouTube channel is here, and we're going to go through in order from the first game that I started on the 22nd of July 2016, and I'm going to do them up to the one that I started on September the 13th of September to 2021, and I'm not going to include the 5 games that I'm currently doing, which is in order of which I started them: The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Watch Dogs, Life is Strange True Colours, and The Simpsons game, because I've not finished them, so I don't think it'd be right for me to place them on this list. Although I am including Resident Evil 2, which I did finish, and I just lost the footage to, and it's locked on a hard drive that's broken, so when I get that fixed, I'll be able to finish that series. So that's why you can see, if I can see if I can find it, the Resident Evil 2 is there, even though technically it's an unfinished Let's Play. We did finish it, we just didn't get to upload the rest of it for the hard drive got damaged. So yeah, but everything else is free, up for grabs. And I think if we do have time at the end, I mean, I might not even be able to get through this entire thing in one, because I think when Ron did it, it was about an hour and a half or something like that, and not only had he planned everything in advance, he also had far fewer games on the thing. So I don't know how we're going to go about this. I don't know how long we're going to ramble about certain games, or whether or not I'm just going to place the game and think, yeah, that's about right, okay, on to the next one. I have no idea how this is going to go. Hey, Adrenaline. But if we do have time at the end, I'll give my sort of thoughts on the games I'm playing so far and where I'd probably align them from where I am now. And of course, there's a couple of games like Syndicate and Simpsons game that I have finished in the past, so I'm fairly sure of how I feel about those games. But anyway, we are getting way off topic, so let's just about get this started, I feel. And also just to check, I hope everything's okay. Like, I think I don't really need much for this one as opposed to when I'm usually streaming on Twitch, because I've got to make sure that the game volume is matched with my own, so I'm not too overpowering, or the game isn't too overpowering, because it's literally just me talking this time. I don't have to worry about that sort of thing. But I did do a quick check, and I can hear my own voice pretty clearly, so hopefully we should be fine. Okay, anyway, but if there are any issues that come up, if I start lagging or if my internet drops dead or something like that, someone will probably just have to message me, because I'm going to have no idea otherwise. Because I am not a professional streamer. I don't know if anyone's picked that up from the other streams I've done in the past, but there you go. So, starting with the very first Let's Play we started on this channel, and also the very first video I did on this channel, was with Saints Row 2, the old classic. Let's find it, there you are. So, I think of all well, I've not played the original Saints Row, as you know, because it's Xbox exclusive, god damn it. But of the ones up to and including Get Out of Hell, because the reboot of, is it a reboot or is it in the same universe? Don't even bloody know. From Saints Row 2 to Saints Row Get Out of Hell, this is easily my favourite of the games. It's got the perfect balance of the comedy value that Saints Row has that differs it from GTA 5, well, not GTA 5 specifically, what am I about? Like the Grand Theft Auto series, but it also has the serious moments. It also has the really great relationships with the gangs, you know, the Sandy and the Ronin and the Brotherhood, and obviously the Saints are at the peak in this game, I think. And Stillwater is the greatest Saints Row map. It's much better than Steelport in my opinion. So I don't know what anyone else's thoughts on that are. So I think we're going to drop straight in with an amazing, because I really do love this game. And it's been a long time since I've played it, mostly because I've just had to play other things. But yeah, I really enjoy this game, and I think I'll probably play it again at some point. In my own time, obviously. I'm not doing another Let's Play of Saints Row 2, believe me. I think 2 is enough if you include my old channel. But yeah, anyway, yeah, so I have no idea where I'm really going to place these in advance. I'm just going to go for a vibe, and then if I think a game's better than Saints Row 2, which there will be games that are better than Saints Row 2, I'll put it before them in the amazing bit. And obviously, if I still think they're amazing but not quite as good, it'll go there, and then I think the vast majority of games are probably going to be in these top 2 tiers. I think some people might know exactly what's going to go in the shite tier, but yeah, we'll get to that. So, also a Let's Play that was started on the 22nd of July 2016, so I started 3 series simultaneously. The second one was Red Dead Redemption, and already we're off to another great start. I reckon that's definitely going here as one of my, probably in my top 5 games of all time, I think. Red Dead Redemption was a phenomenal game and still lives up to its reputation today. Even though when you're comparing it to Red Dead Redemption 2, and obviously the map size isn't as big and it's not as interactive and the graphics aren't as great, it still, as a story on its own, it is phenomenal. And John Marston is himself one of the greatest protagonists of all time, in my opinion. And it cemented my love for him. And then I was worried after playing through the first 6 chapters of Red Dead Redemption 2 that it almost sort of ruined John for me, because I just didn't care for him at all. But then by the time that I'd finished the epilogue, and I'm not going to spoil anything for Red Dead Redemption 2, because obviously I know that Ron's in here and he's still playing it, but by the end of the epilogue I'd fallen just as much in love with John as I had done the first time round. And this game has so many interesting characters. New Austin in particular I think was the best of the 3 areas, alongside obviously Nuevo Paraíso and West Elizabeth. And in hindsight, because I have I don't think I rewatched somebody playing Red Dead Redemption, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but after having played Red Dead Redemption 2, it really still stands tall, and I think it's a great game. Anywho, Let's Play number 3 also started on... Oh wait, actually no, I was wrong, sorry. This was started 2 days after Saints Row 2 and Red Dead Redemption, was Assassin's Creed, the first, the original, with Altair Ibn Ahad. I think I'm going to put you in... Oh, see, I said I would stick to these 2, but I think I'm going to put it in okay. Just because in comparison to definitely the other Assassin's Creed games and a lot of the other games I've got on here, it has growing pains, I think. And I think it was definitely Assassin's Creed 2 that started, got the ball rolling for the franchise going on as it was. Because I think as much as I enjoyed the original Assassin's Creed, and I think it was very creative, definitely new for the time, and still stands up. I think it's still quite an enjoyable game. I think in comparison with the rest of the series, it's a little bit, it repeats itself a lot. There's not a lot of variety there. You basically do your investigations, kill the target, move on to the next bit, do your investigations, get the target, collect the bloody flags, kill the Templars. It was the story that made it so interesting, and obviously the big plot twist at the end with Al-Mualim. I think that's it's still a good game. It's probably I think maybe of all the Assassin's Creed games, it might be about the halfway point for me. I think that there are ones that I'm not as big a fan of, but there are also a lot that I love. So I think that's a safe place for Assassin's Creed. Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna jump a little bit in time because obviously when I started, it was just those 3 series that I was doing. It was a little bit longer before I started expanding into the 4th and 5th Let's Play ongoing. But our next one is Amnesia: The Dark Descent, which is down here. The first of, 4 now, but of the 3 that I've done. And I think I'm actually going to put this in great. I think this is one of the best horror games that still, I think this came out in 2010, I think it was, or maybe just a little bit before, and I still think this is one of the best horror games on the market, personally. I think this was terrifying to me, and it's been a long time since I've replayed it. Maybe it might be due a replay at some point, because they did do like a remastered version, I think, alongside Machine for Pigs. But I really enjoyed this game, and really started my love for horror games, because I'm not really big into horror. Like, I'm not a massive fan of horror films for the most part. But games I really get behind, and I quite enjoy playing them. I think this was really the catalyst for that, because as much as it scared the pants out of me, I think it was amazing. I think it was very fun, and it kept you on the edge of your seat. Definitely, of the Amnesia games I've played, this is easily the superior one. And it's sort of become like a YouTube staple, hasn't it? I think it was a game responsible for a lot of the now big gaming YouTubers like PewDiePie and stuff for gaining their audience. So I think it has a lot. We have a lot to thank Amnesia for, really. I think it really put the let's play sort of platform on YouTube. I think it gave it a position. So yeah, I think it'd be worth having a replay at some point. But yeah, it was a ton of fun, Amnesia, and yeah. Anyway, now comes as of now the current champion for the longest Let's Play on my channel, which clocked out in, I think, 235 episodes. And where are you? Where is it? Where can I find it? Oh, there he is. I just completely skipped over it. Skyrim. There we go. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, which we started on October 29th, 2016. I think that was the day that the special edition came out, because I wanted to play this from the get-go, but then when they announced that the special edition was coming out, I said I'll wait for that one. I am going to put this in great. I'm going to put it above Amnesia. I'm not going to quite put it in amazing, despite it being, such a great game and so addictive. And the amount of times I think everyone who's bought Skyrim, the amount of times they've replayed it, maybe not completed it, but they'll go through it, play for hours on end, and then they'll leave it for ages, and then they'll forget where they got up to and start again, like The Sims, basically. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that series, and there were some dull points. Obviously, there's a lot of tedious quests in there, but there are so many interesting quests in there. The main story, which nobody would play Skyrim for, but regardless, I thought was amazing, and the Civil War stuff with the Imperials and the Stormcloaks, and then of course you had the Companions, College of Winterhold, Thieves Guild, Dark Brotherhood, and all the amazing side quests like with the Daedra and everything like that. There was so much going on for this game. And the DLC was fantastic, the Dawn Guard and Dragonborn, having the whole Isles. I can't exactly remember what it was called now, because it's been so long since I played it, and I've not actually touched Skyrim since I finished the Let's Play. But yeah, there was so much for this game, and I think it's there are a lot of people that will just go, oh, but it's not Oblivion or it's not Morrowind, and I'm like, oh, I've never actually played those games, so I can't really give my opinion on that. But I think it's one of the games that a lot of people love to hate. The people who are massive fans of RPG games, they just think Skyrim's quite basic in that regard, and I think it is, like, especially in comparison to other RPG games. It is very much a game for people who are new to RPG games, but nevertheless, it deserves its position in like one of the greatest games of all time, because it truly is. And yeah, it was a blast to play, and definitely I think if I didn't enjoy it, I definitely don't think I'd be able to sit through 235 episodes of it. But yeah, we got through it in the end, and it felt very satisfying to end, but also it was like really weird not playing it afterwards. So yeah, anyway, that is Skyrim. Our next one is Amnesia Justine, which is sort of our first of our sort of mini games. I think it was only like 2 episodes long, but I did class it as it is a separate game to the Dark Descent. It doesn't follow the same story. It's just uses the same engine, and it is a DLC that you can play standalone. So I'm probably going to put this in the OK tier as well. I don't remember a lot about this because obviously it was 2 episodes long, and I played this when it came out, and I've not played it since. But from what I remember, it was quite an interesting addition, and I did enjoy it. Obviously, it was very short. But yeah, I think it was dealing with a woman who sort of actually had amnesia. Obviously, that's the sort of trend with the title of the game. But I think she set herself trapped, something like that. I think you had the option to save her lovers or something like that. I can't remember, but it kept the horror factor. You know, it added a new enemy to the game as well. So yeah, but like I said, I don't remember an awful lot about it, so I can't really say like my definite thoughts on this because I don't really rewatch series that I do in the past, and if it's something so small, I'm probably not going to really bother with it. But I remember enjoying it, so I think the ones that I have definitive memories of are either because they were really good or they were really bad, or I've played them recently. So yeah. Anyway. So, we come into what was very much a jump into the dark for me, and one of the best decisions that I ever made, because I'd have never really thought of playing this franchise otherwise, but we have Batman Arkham Asylum. This was actually something that a friend I was at college with, I would have been college at this time, suggested that I play, and I don't know if anybody's gone back and watched me play Arkham Asylum. I was terrible at it. I really was. I did not understand the combat whatsoever. I'm used to just mashing the buttons, and of course that's not something you do with the Arkham games. But it was definitely something I got more confident with as I went through City and Origins and Night. So I think obviously I found this very challenging, and especially when I actually got to the challenge maps at the end, it definitely stressed me out at times. But in hindsight, it was a very good game, so I'm going to put it in the great tier, and I think I'm going to put you there. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of it in comparison to the other Arkham games as to where I would rank them all, and I think I'd probably place it 3rd above Origins, maybe. I'm not including Blackgate in this, by the way, even though I really enjoyed all 4 games. I think they're all really great. This is very much sort of a stepping stone for that franchise, and then they just started to gain more confidence as they as the technology moved on, and they could make bigger maps and better enemies and better stories, everything like that. So in the sort of grand view of the Arkham series, it is quite basic. You have like you got Joker, you got Scarecrow, you got Killer Croc, and I can't remember. I don't think you really interact with Harley that much, but I know she's in it, and like Zaz and everything like that. It's a good introduction, but obviously it's very small scale. Like the actual asylum isn't massive, and you've got every unique area, but I think in comparison with like City and Night in particular, that have a lot more to offer. So yeah, but it's definitely a game that I'm very glad that I played, and yeah, I definitely I want to revisit it sometime. I do have that because I did this just on the regular PC, and then when I got the Return to Arkham remastered version of Asylum and City, that's how I played Arkham City. Maybe it'd be worth going back to Asylum and seeing how I'd fare now that I've actually finished the entire franchise. But yeah, definitely a great game. And now we move on to Assassin's Creed 2, which I am going to put here, I think. Very much between whether I put that above Red Dead Redemption 2 or not, because this is my favourite Assassin's Creed game, and it still remains that way for me. And I think that's the sort of way it balances out. Because honestly, like I think sort of my top 3 are all the Ezio games. Like I think Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations each have something that they do better than the other 2. I think in Assassin's Creed 2's case, it is very much the sort of it's the scope of it, to be honest. Like straight away, like because they took a year out between Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed 2. Also, I should say, because I forgot to mention, didn't I? We did Amnesia Justine, started on November the 8th, 2016. Arkham Asylum started on November the 15th, and Assassin's Creed 2 on December 1st, 2016. But yes, the scale of it, like, because they had the year in between AC1 2, which meant they could have a full 14 sequences, including the 2 DLC chapters, which were longer themselves. They they weren't short sequences. There was a lot to do there. And of course you had Florence, you had Monteriggioni, you had Tuscany, you had Romagna, you've got Venice, Rome for a little bit of it as well, and you've got so much side content as well, and all the characters you meet are amazing, and it is definitely, without this game, we wouldn't have the Assassin's Creed franchise as we know it, in my opinion. And Ezio Auditore is probably my favourite gaming... Actually, no. Maybe not my favourite. Definitely like the top 3, I'd say, Ezio. But he's so charismatic, isn't he? He's a proper character, and I love him, and I really enjoyed playing Assassin's Creed 2. I remember when I first got it, this was before I did it as a Let's Play. It was just about when I was starting to enjoy Assassin's Creed as a franchise, because I think I'll probably talk about this later with another one, another future Assassin's Creed game. AC3 was the one that sort of kicked off my love for the franchise, surprisingly, considering that I don't quite rate it as highly anymore. And then I went back and played the Ezio games. I started with AC2, of course, and I finished the whole game to platinum in 4 days because I just got completely addicted to that game. And yeah, it was great to replay. I didn't mind Bonfire of the Vanities, actually. It slows down a little bit, I think, because it almost feels like Assassin's Creed 1 in that regard. Because you're going through the individual targets, then leading up to is it Salam? I can't remember what it is. Is it Sela something, like Salamandra, something like that? The Salamanca? No, that's. Am I thinking of Breaking Bad now? Like, like Tuco or no? I can't remember what his surname is, but the target of that one, it did slow down a little bit for the Bonfire of Vanities, but I think other than that, it was a great game for sure. So moving into 2017 with Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. Where are you? There you are. The old Undead John Marston. And I am going to put this in great as well. I think I'm going to put you there. One of the greatest DLCs to a game of all time. And, you know, it goes to show that after all these years, people are coming for an Undead Nightmare DLC for Red Dead Redemption 2 as well. Because it was amazing. It really was. Like, they didn't need to put as much effort into that as they could. They literally could have just put a filter on and changed enemies to zombies, and people would have probably been fine, like a new challenge set. But they had the whole storyline there, and it was a fun time. And, you know, despite the glitches, it is a bit of a glitchy DLC. But other than that, I really enjoyed that DLC, and obviously you get to spend some more time with John, even if it's not canon. But it was cool to sort of re-explore it and meet the characters from the base game in this sort of new wacky world sort of thing. Yeah, it was a ton of fun. So sorry if I'm going to be like reacting to these comments late. I think I think there's quite a bit of delay between where I am and where comments are coming up. So I'm just seeing Ever's comment about being hard to play stealth in those ones. It is pretty tricky, like, to be honest. But I think that goes for like all the Assassin's Creed games. Everyone's got that crappy memory when it's really like hard to keep it undetected and that sort of thing. I think there are so many, especially go later on, I'm going to be like, I was stuck on this one memory for about 2 hours and it was killing me. But yeah, I'm one of the people who likes to sort of like run. I like playing stealthy, but then obviously I'm not one that likes to be penalised if I do get quickly detected. Like, it's one of those things, isn't it? But yeah. So Red Dead Undead Nightmare, I think, was really great. I don't think I could bring myself to put it above like these games, but it's probably going to stay in about this positioning great because it was a really good DLC. I really enjoyed it. Next on the line is Half-Life, which we started on April the 6th, 2017. So it is right here, and I'm gonna put it in great. I definitely think it deserves a place in great. It's probably gonna end up being pushed down a little bit as time goes on, but yeah, I thought Half-Life was a really great game, and that is what ultimately made one of the future Let's Plays I did a little bit disappointing when because I thought I'm not really one of a kind of person that's asked about when a game came out, because I think games can be phenomenal regardless of when they came out, and this was a prime example of that. I think this came out in '98, which was the year I was born, so it'll be 24 years old this year coming in a couple of days, and I think it really stands the test of time. And obviously it was a huge change, because I think there was no cutscenes or anything like that. It was just gameplay for the whole thing, and the story happened in front of you as you were playing, rather than going to a separate thing with a cinematic and then going back to the gameplay sort of thing. But yeah, I thought it was really great. I really enjoyed Half-Life. And it was a bit weird for me because I'm used to, because I very rarely play games keyboard and mouse. Like, nothing against people who do. In fact, no props to people who do, because obviously that's almost like the sort of the real way you're supposed to do it. And I'm crap at it, really. So when I realised that I couldn't play it with the controls, like, oh crap, here we go, get used to it. And I did at the end of it, to be honest. But yeah, obviously, you know, our silent protagonist Gordon Freeman, an absolute iconic video game representative, despite the fact he never says a word. And you know, we got to meet some cool characters, and I think this particular one worked very well with the DLCs that came out. Well, not DLCs, but the other storylines that sort of come alongside Half-Life, and it tells a different perspective all about how Black Mesa was, you know, the science experiment gone wrong, and it linked it with Zen. Was that what it was called, the planet? I can't remember. I think it sort of might have sort of maybe jumped the shark a little bit at the very end, when you're actually on the planet. But it didn't spoil the experience for me whatsoever. I really enjoyed this game, and it proved a challenge, but I really enjoyed it at the end of the day. And not too long later, on April the 13th, we started a game that I had previously finished on my original channel. Well, actually, I say that. I did that with Saints Row 2 as well, and I did start Red Dead and Assassin's Creed, but I never finished those on my OG channel. We have Heavy Rain from Quantic Dreams. And I'm going to put this, I think I'm also going to put this in Great, and I think I'm going to put you there. And again, I think this might be one that sort of gets pushed along as we go through, because it is a really good game. And it was one that I enjoyed replaying. When I replayed it this time, I played the one on the, it was on, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's just called the Quantic Dream Collection. So it's got this and Beyond Two Souls, which I've yet to play, but it's not too far away, me playing that one. But of course, you're sort of following the story of Ethan, Madison, Norman, and Scott. I think it's been a long time since I played that game. But yeah, I really enjoyed that game, and obviously the plot twist is a bit of a weak one, I think, just because of the nature of how you were playing the game beforehand. But other than that, I think the story is very enjoyable, and you develop great relationships with the characters, and obviously the ability to change your ending depending on how you do certain things, and just the amount of endings that there are to that game. I think it's quite revolutionary, so I'm going to put it there. But yeah, I did enjoy playing that game, and it was a nice one to revisit. But it's probably one that I'm not going. If I ever decide to revisit, I'll probably watch a Let's Play of it rather than play it myself, because I feel like especially since I've done like all endings thing, I've seen everything that game's got to offer. It's just sometimes I might think, oh yeah, I wonder what Heavy Rain was. Go back and revisit that one. So, anywho. And now we're skipping on to a game that desperately deserves a sequel. And, you know, they keep rumouring that it's going to get a sequel. I don't know if it ever will get a sequel, but it deserves one. On May the 8th, 2017, we started Bully. Bully Scholarship Edition, to be exact. And oh my god, right, this is definitely... I'm going to put you... Is it better than Skyrim? Yeah, you know what, it is. It is, sod it. I don't care what people say. Bully is better than Skyrim. I'm gonna say it. Bully was, I think, I don't know. I think other than Red Dead Redemption, I think it's the best Rockstar property. I think it's better than all the GTAs, to be honest. Which is, you know, a big. Actually, maybe not. Maybe there's like one or two GTAs that I might prefer to Bully, but honest to God, this is an underrated classic. It was so cool. I really enjoyed it. There's just so much interactivity there. It's so funny. It's easily the funniest Rockstar game they ever made. The storyline was phenomenal. It didn't need to be as good as it was, but it absolutely was. And, you know, Jimmy was a great protagonist. And all the characters that you meet and all the cliques that you end up going into, and it's very much sort of... it's almost like stereotypical, and like, obviously you got the geeks and the... I mean, it's not really in Britain. I think there aren't really as defined cliques. You've got like the, you know, there are cliques in sort of British education system, but not as much as there are in American, at least from what I've seen. I don't know. I can't say that I've officially been in the American Education Institute, so obviously I think Ron's probably going to have to be my authority on that one as to whether or not it's a good representation. But at the same time, it sort of flips it on its head and it sort of plays around with stereotypes and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed it, and they keep rumouring that they're going to do a Bully 2. I really hope they do, and I'd be on that shit in a second. I tell you now, that'd be straight on the roster for playing, because I love that game. Even though I had so many issues with the PC version, because that's the edition that I played, because I think the Scholarship only came out on PC and Xbox, and it kept crashing on me at times, and sometimes, because it doesn't do auto saves, you got to do manual saves, so sometimes I'd be playing for ages, and then it'd crash and I'd have to redo it again, so the technical side of it was sometimes a bit of a pain in the ass. And I remember the mini games being particularly brutal, but other than that, it was a really great experience, and I really hope they do a Bully 2, as they seem to keep indicating that they might. Next we go to the first of the Half-Life expansions, Opposing Force, which I am going to put in... I'm going to put it in okay, I think I'm probably put it... Actually... Nah, I'll put it in between there. Yeah, Opposing Force was in itself. It was basically the Black Mesa invasion from a different perspective. You were from one of the soldiers that had come in to sort of wipe everyone out. The scientists and the aliens. With another silent protagonist. Well, in fact, they were all silent protagonists at this point, because even Blue Shift was silent. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. It was short and sweet, I think. A lot of combat. I remember the certain bits of it, but it was very much just sort of like another version of Half-Life with the same events from a different perspective, different monsters, different areas. But I think it was still very much an enjoyable addition to the canon. Although we never actually met this character again, I don't think. Obviously, Blue Shift, which we'll actually be moving on to in a little bit. Yeah, but Calhoun, and I'm sure I'm going to simp over him much more when we actually reach that. But yeah, I think I said that was June 27th. Did I? Unless I didn't, I don't know if I did. But that was June 27th, 2017. Next on the list we have Until Dawn. Where are you? Right there you are. I'm going to put you. It's definitely better than Heavy Rain. Better than Half-Life, I'd say so. Better than Undead Nightmare, maybe better. I think that's a pretty good spot between Amnesia and Undead Nightmare for me. Again, much like Until Heavy Rain, I think it was a great thing with the endings differing and how many characters survived depending on your actions. But it was very much an enjoyable game. One that I had unfortunately played before I had actually platinumed. Before I did it, I'd have loved to have played that blind, but I didn't. But regardless, it was still a very cool game with really likable core cast. I say likable. There are some characters that are sort of made out to be more. Oh, I don't really like that person. I don't really care what happens to this person. But I think the vast majority of the cast are very likable, and you sort of want them to go through. And obviously, I can't remember. I don't know if it was in anything major beforehand, but this is a very big deal for Rami Malek, who is of course now a very big actor, and has starred in a lot of cool stuff now. But this is obviously, he was motion captured. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The one who was the brother in this, wasn't he? But yeah, I really enjoyed that game, and it'd definitely be worth a revisit at some point, I think. And a creepy psychiatrist as well, when he comes in and he starts giving you the books, and it's just like you're trying to break you into your psyche kind of thing. But yeah, that was cool. Anyway, I was supposed to say anyway and anywho at the same time. Anyway, we're now going on to July the 16th with Blue Shift. Where are you? There you are, Calhoun, Barney Calhoun, the absolute American patriot. Of course, Calhoun himself is already going to bump this up into the great tier. I'll probably put you there. I can't really, Calhoun alone is sort of pushing himself into that category there. Even though he never says a word to the whole thing, I just sort of suddenly started loving Calhoun. We have a relationship, You had to be there. But, Calhoun, what a legend, even though this was actually even shorter than Opposing Force, I think. It was only about 5 episodes long. So again, short and sweet, but no, I can't really say anything about this that I haven't really said about Opposing Force. It's just a different perspective on the Black Mesa incident. But, you know, Calhoun, you know, you can't not love Calhoun, right? Calhoun! Anyway, I don't know if that's a nostalgia trip for anyone else thinking, oh yeah, I forgot about Barney. But, you know, how could you forget about Barney? I mean, Drew Bear every night, he's my hero. Anyway, enough simping for fictional non-speaking characters. We move on to our next Assassin's Creed game at long last. We have Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which is definitely going into the amazing tier. Is it better than Saints Row 2? Maybe, I don't know. This is a hard one. I'll say yes. Okay, I'll put Brotherhood there. Yeah, like I said, every game sort of did something better than the others. Whereas I think like the expansion and the amount of stuff to, you know, the maps and everything like that, and the soundtrack. I forgot to mention about the soundtrack from Jesper Kide for the vast majority of the Assassin's Creed games was phenomenal for Assassin's Creed 2. But I think in Brotherhood there was definitely a lot of stuff to do. Like considering that it was only 9 sequences long as opposed to the 14 that AC2 was, and the fact that I think this ended up being 44 episodes and this was 50, just goes to show how much side stuff that they have for this game and how much love that goes into it. But I think actually the process of building up a Brotherhood and the combat that definitely got advanced. And I think as a sole area, I think Rome is probably the greatest of all of the at least the Ezio trilogy maps. Rome was amazing, and the story was amazing as well, of course. Continuing to work against the Borgias and Cesare in particular, this was a very good game. And I think it's probably, see, it seems really awful to say the weakest of the Ezio trilogy, because I don't think it's a weak game in the slightest. I think this is a phenomenal game. It was quite tricky in places though. It was very challenging, because obviously this was the one that introduced the bloody optional objectives. But yeah, and it was one that they didn't have checkpoints, so if you failed an optional objective, you have to restart from the beginning. So yeah, that got to be a problem in places, but I still think it was an amazing game. It really was. And like the Romulus lairs and the Templar hunt, and then taking down Leonardo da Vinci's machines. Although I say that's a great bit of side content. My God, I'm remembering the Flying Machine 2.0 and the optional objective for that, which is to go through that sort of end section without damaging it. And I hated it because I'd almost get damaged and then have to redo it. I think I got lucky when I did the Let's Play. I think it was only like my second or third attempt, but I remember playing it for the first time. It took me so long to do. Oh my God. But yeah, Brotherhood, I think that's a third place for it. It's definitely in the amazing tier, even though I have my preference for AC2 and another one that you'll see pretty soon. And then we come to Half-Life Decay, which we started on July 28th, 2017. Where are you? Half-Life Decay. There you are. Now, this seems very awful for me to do, considering this is actually the first time that me and Ron actually did a Let's Play together. For both of us. I think this was before we started. I think Saints Row the Third was the first game that we did together on his. Well, in fact, the only co-op games we've done is the Saints Row and Dying Light. So this is the first time that we actually we did a game together, and unfortunately, I am going to put it in the shite tier. Not at all because of Ron's contribution to that game. I think that's what saved it from being one of the worst Let's Plays ever. This is just a catastrophe from start to finish. First of all, it was not meant to be played on the PC, and I think, you know, the people who did the port to move it onto PC did a very good job with it. It was ridiculously hard, and the Let's Play in itself actually sort of like screwed up on my behalf. It's not a great series, not one that I ever will or have revisited. It's just sort of things like, I've done it, I just never want to acknowledge that we did it again. Because I think actually one of the episodes I lost the footage of, and because I decided to experiment until Ron to record his side of the footage, and I'd record mine, and I was going to try and intersperse it. This is like back in my days where I was a rookie editor, and I wouldn't even really consider myself to be a particularly good editor nowadays, but certainly a lot better than I was at this time to have tried to do something as as ballsy as this. But yeah, I think there's a whole episode that is just Ron's footage, and I called it like a different perspective because it's just not me at all. It's completely Ron's perspective with my voice over it. Oh my god, it's a bit of an embarrassment, to be honest. We didn't know what we were doing. I don't think I think I might have even been wrong of me to say it was 100% Let's Play, because you get like a bonus level if you get like an A ranking on all of them, and we didn't, and I was so fed up with the game by the time we got the end. It's like, you know what, I'm just gonna leave it. I don't care. Let's just move on. So despite it being the first of many shared Let's Plays with myself and Ron, this is definitely the weakest, and yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is, that kind of thing. So what do we have next? We have Half-Life 2, which is definitely a step in the right direction, which we started on August the 8th, 2017. There we are, and I'm going to say this is the best Half-Life game that there was, and I'm going to put you... I'm going to put it there. I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm feeling happy for Half-Life 2. Just did what Half-Life did, but even better. And the graphics, considering it came out in 2004, I believe, totally still stand up today. And the storyline with the takeover and the I don't know why I can't remember what they're called, but the like the soldiers and all that storyline with the sort of brainwashing and everything like that, and obviously introducing Alex and all that stuff. I thought it was a fantastic. Obviously, give me some more Calhoun, which is in itself going to be superb. But yeah, Half-Life 2 was a great one to play. Obviously, for the first time, it's one of them games that everyone says like, "Oh my god, you've got to play Half-Life 2. It's one of the best games of all time." Like, you can't call yourself a gamer until you played Half-Life 2. And then I played it, and I totally get it. It's a great game, and it's still like Half-Life. It's completely gameplay. There is no cinematics. You watch the game unfold in front of you, and yeah, and especially the chapter in Ravenholm, is that what it's called? Ravenheim, something like that. The one where it's basically like a ghost town with I say ghost town, it's completely filled with zombies, and you've got that priest that's looking out for you, and you get the gravity gun and everything like that. That was a fantastic chapter, and yeah, it was definitely a very cool game to play. So yeah, that's where Half-Life 2 sits on my list. Let's move on to Amnesia and Machine for Pigs, which we started on August the 10th, 2017, 2 days later. I am going to put this in the okay tier. I say, I'm going to put it there, actually. I'd say Justine, even though it's like really short, I still think it's a little bit better than Machine for Pigs. This didn't really scare me at all, really. Like, the storyline itself was interesting and quite gory. The whole thing about turning people into pigs, really. And the graphics were cool, and the setting was pretty cool. I remember going from the outside bit into like factories and stuff like that. But again, it's one of the games I've not really had any sort of motivation to rewatch or revisit. Just because it just doesn't really do anything for me. Because I think I ended up actually live streaming the last sort of like hour and a half of this because someone sort of begged and pleaded for me. Yeah, I've just seen Evra's comment about the Combine being the enemy of Half-Life 2. That's they were great. But yeah, so Machine for Pigs it didn't really do much for me as a scary game. I think there were tense areas, but absolutely nothing compared to Dark Descent. I think that was that was terrifying, and that was amazing. So I think Machine for Pigs was a bit of a disappointment in that regard, but I think it's still a good game. Well, I say good. Yeah, it was an okay game. But yeah, I think that I can't really put it any higher than that. Like, I don't know, really. But yeah, anywho. The next one we started on August 31st was Life is Strange. Let's see, where are you? There you are, my lovely Max. And of course, if you've seen my videos for Life is Strange, and even up to True Colours, if you've been watching that one, you'll know the absolute love that I have for this game. It is fantastic. I think even that's an understatement. It is one of the best games. It's in the amazing tier. I'm just honestly there'll be days that I could possibly swap that with Red Dead Redemption. I'm probably gonna put it there for now. But it's definitely, that is in my top 5 games of all time, and I don't think it's ever going to be beaten. This is obviously specifically Season 1, although when it came out it was only Life is Strange. Oh my god, like, the storyline for that game is phenomenal. The absolute, I think, as much as I enjoy, especially True Colours, but I did find enjoyment in Life is Strange 2 as well, and Before the Storm. I almost feel like this was it's very much sort of like Life is Strange did so well that they decided to make new games, but you had the power of Max's ability to rewind time and allowing that to change how you interact with people and stuff like that. And I think they basically nailed that concept here. And I think the sort of relationship with superpowers, it's sort of a bit like, oh, okay, that's sort of disappointing, I suppose. I think it's just because the amazing like sci-fi abilities that come with that, and despite because Max's ability allows you to change your decision depending on how people react and that sort of thing, which is a really cool concept, whereas the other ones it's sort of, I mean, even in Life is Strange 2 it wasn't really, you weren't controlling the character with the ability, because we were playing as Sean, weren't we, and Daniel was the one that had telekinesis. I think he could move objects with his mind kind of thing, and then obviously his emotions could run rampant. And then True Colours, from what I've seen so far, Alex's ability to detect what people are feeling and take on those emotions for herself, and in themselves cool concepts, but I don't think they quite reach the same level of the ability to turn back time. But that's even the thing that makes this game amazing. It's the other characters. You got Max, who is in herself is a great protagonist, a great heroine. You got Chloe Price, obviously amazing. Like, Ashley Birch nails every performance she has ever given. She is a phenomenal actress. And then you've got Kate, who's basically my MVP. Kate's my favourite character in that game. Fucking queen that she is, and she absolutely got trashed by everybody in that game. Like, not the fans, the characters in that game. Fucking, they absolutely tore her to pieces, and she still came through strong, at least for me. Yeah, I loved Kate. Kate was amazing. Then you got like Warren, and you've got Frank, the dealer, and then you've got the characters like you got David, and you got Joyce, and it goes to show that it's been so long since I played this game. I think the last time I actually played it was how I did it for my Let's Play. And I remember all the characters because this game had such an impact on me. Even though obviously Nathan and Mr. Jefferson and all that massive plot twist as well, which obviously I knew was coming because I'd played the game before many times. But truly a great plot twist the first time I played it, and everything involving the tornado and the big decision at the end, which I think is a bit of a... if I had like a criticism of the game, it would be that the ending was almost too sort of like, everything's built up to this and it's come to these two choices, and you're always going to be put in that situation no matter what choice you made along the game. The relationship you built up, it all comes down to whether or not you try not to be huge spoilers, but whether you save this person or if you save the entire town. And I don't know, it's a powerful decision, the fact that it's still a hard decision to come to when you get to the end, where it's one life versus an entire town. But if you know what I mean, like, it's a little bit weak, but I think at the same time this game is fantastic on its own right, and definitely deserves to be up amongst the greatest games of all time. Anyway, my voice is going a little bit, so I'm just going to have a little sipperoonie. Anywho, on September the 6th, 2017, we began our Grand Theft Auto pilgrimage with Grand Theft Auto 3, which I am going to put... It's definitely a very good game. It definitely still stands up. Maybe not as much as the other 3D era games, but I'm going to put it at the top of okay. No, actually, I'm going to put it... Where do I stop? There, I think. Yeah. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3, of course. It was the first 3D interpretation of Liberty City, obviously, which is based on New York, and I think actually had to be delayed by several months because of its such high resemblance to New York City, And this came out in 2001. I believe it came out late October. It was originally coming out September. And then, of course, they had the terrorist attacks in New York. That meant that a lot of this game had to get changed and everything like that. But the story in itself is very good. Even though Claude, our protagonist, is mute. I really, all the cool side characters in this game, like the Salvatore and 8-Ball, and you had, what's her name? I can't quite remember. You had like the Triad members and everything like that. And Catalina, of course, who would make a return in San Andreas. It's Catalina, isn't it? I think it is. So the storyline itself is very cool, and you had the open world, and this is what set Grand Theft Auto up for the immense success that it would be, and it's only got better over the years. I think. Well, actually, I say that I think my favorite GTA game is one that is not the most recent one, but it's it's what set it up to be. What I think this is what basically gave Rockstar its stardom that it holds to this day, and without it, not only would we have the rest of the Grand Theft Auto series, we want to have Red Dead Redemption, we want to have Bully. We've got a lot to thank Grand Theft Auto 3 for, and it's sort of beginning the trend for open world 3D games. Truly fantastic. But yeah, I think when you compare it to the other Grand Theft Autos, it does sort of stand out a little bit, mostly because of the fact that the protagonist doesn't actually say anything. But it started it all, and you've got to sort of acknowledge that, I think. And I did enjoy myself playing this game, so yeah. Anywho, we are coming up to October the 10th, 2017, when we had our first sort of standalone thing, which was Half-Life 2 Lost Coast. If I can find it. Can we find it? There it is. I'm going to put this in meh. I think I'll put that in meh. Mostly because it is basic. I think it's like a tutorial. So well, it's not a tutorial. It's sort of like a test chapter for Half-Life 2 Episode 1, because they changed some of the mechanics between Half-Life 2 and then the Episode 1 and 2. So it's just a little extra thing where you were fighting off a Combine invasion on the coast. I think it's St. Helga's something, I can't remember. So it's basically just a quick little 20-minute thing where you go around, kill people, test out weapons and stuff like that. It was a very interesting 20 minutes. It was still very good, but obviously I can't really give it much more than that. It is basically just a sort of test engine for Half-Life 2 Episode 1. So yeah, so that's where I'm putting Half-Life 2 Lost Coast. And then we are moving on to Half-Life 2 Episode 1, which is this little baby down here. And I'm going to put you... I think maybe there. Maybe I can actually get the position right. Yeah, I remember more about Episode 2 than I do Episode 1, even though it was still very good. Of course, more time with Gordon and Alex, and continuing to fight the Combine after the big sort of explosion that ended the first Half-Life 2. Yeah, I still remember it being very enjoyable. It was quite shortish in comparison. I think this is only about 10 episodes long or something like that, and I think Episode 2 was about the same length. But there were interesting additions to the mythos of Half-Life, and I'm really glad I played it. And like I said, I'm sorry, there are going to be some games that I'm going to absolutely rant and rave about because they meant so much to me, and obviously sunk in a lot more. There are some that I've sort of forgotten mostly about since I played them. This just happens to be one of them, but I still remember actually enjoying myself playing it, and with the rebellion against the Combine and everything like that. It was all very fun, and more time with the great Half-Life 2 engine sort of thing. So yeah. That's all I have to say about that, really. And then we move straight on into Episode 2. So I must have been through a sort of period of long Let's Play at this point, because I did Episode 1 was October 13th, Episode 2 was October 31st. So it mustn't have been long at all. So this was Halloween 2017 this started. And I'm going to put you, I think about... I'll put it there, maybe. Which I do remember this game a bit more than Episode 1, of course. It ended with the huge sort of cliffhanger that never really got resolved until, I don't know, because obviously Half-Life 2 Episode 2 was supposed to lead into a Half-Life 2 Episode 3 or Half-Life 3, and it's the whole thing, isn't it? It's infamous now about where Half-Life ended. Of course, we've got Half-Life Alyx, which has been out since, which I still can't play because it's on Oculus Rift, and I've got PlayStation VR, which unless they ever decide to release it on the, or I manage to have enough money to afford an Oculus, unfortunately that's where my Half-Life journey ends, although this is actually where it had ended by the time I recorded this Let's Play, so I didn't say sort of like, oh, we're never going to find it because I can't play the next game. This was the definitive ending of Half-Life 2 at the time. So obviously it landed on that cliffhanger. You got the cool stuff about building the rocket and defending the silo and everything like that. And yeah, I remember really enjoying this game. So for the end of Half-Life until the VR game came out, it was a good ending, but we just kind of wished it got resolved. But I don't know if it ever did get resolved in Alex. I don't want anyone to tell me if it did get resolved, because maybe one day I'll play it and I'd like to see. But I think it's a prequel. I think it takes place before Half-Life 2 from the perspective of Alex. That's all I really know about it. So I don't know. Anywho, we move on to Life is Strange Before the Storm, which is... I'm going right over, aren't I? There we go. Which put us in the shoes of Chloe Price and allowed us to properly meet Rachel as well, who I forgot to mention about that whole side plot in Season 1 as well. And it's definitely going to go into great tier. Where should we put you? Possibly here, I think. Before the Storm was very... Obviously, this is blind for me. This is the first Life is Strange game I played blind, and of course I've played all the other ones blind since then. And also one where I made the catastrophic mistake of thinking too much about my decision as to whether to tell Rachel whether Chloe valued a friendship or something more, and I thought, oh, she's in a state right now. The last thing she wants to do is like, I love you, and thinking like, oh, I don't need this right now. And then I totally ruined the relationship between Chloe and Rachel that I'd been pining for since the first season. And I've not actually revisited that series since. I've not rewatched it or watched anyone else play it, but that poor decision on my part stuck with me through this entire time. I was like, I fucked that up. I wanted this lovely gay romance between Chloe and Rachel, and I squandered it because I thought too much about it. But yeah, other than that, it was a great little thing building up the relationship, and it just makes season 1 that much more devastating, because sort of despite the fact it's devastating in itself because you can see that Rachel's impact on Chloe just through their interactions you have with Chloe in season 1, but obviously to see it all in Before the Storm, and the relationships between Chloe and I can't remember, was David in Before the Storm? I can't remember. I think it must have been, mustn't it? Because it only takes place a few months before season 1. Obviously, he was married to Joyce by that point. So you do have the characters like that with like Frank and everything like that, and also Steph, who actually would obviously later turn up in True Colours. So yeah, it was still a very good game. It was slightly gutting that they couldn't get the OG actors until the Farewell DLC, which obviously brought back Ashley Birch and what's the last name? Oh, it's gonna kill me. It's Hannah something. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's killing me. Oh no. Yeah, sorry. I know she's called Hannah. I think she's called Hannah. Is she called Hannah? Maybe. But obviously the OG voice actors of Chloe and Max. Hannah Tell. That's her name. Hannah Tell. They managed to bring them back, and I understand why at the time, because it was the strike with the actors or something like that, and obviously they took part in that, so they had to get different actresses in to actors and actresses to play the characters. But it was still a very good game. What really carried BTS for me is that I could really feel myself in her shoes, as I lost my father, same age as her. I went through the same kind of rebellious stuff. Well, yeah, exactly. I'm very lucky that I've never had to experience anything like that, but yeah, you can definitely. I mean, even from season 1, I completely understood sort of the way that she was acting, because even though David did prove to love her in the end, he was very tough with it, and he didn't seem to have much sympathy for Chloe whatsoever. So you understand why she is how she is, but I think this just delved deeper into her psyche, and I think it was really great for that purpose. Oh my god, my voice is starting to go. And then we move on to another phenomenal story-based game, Where are we? The Walking Dead. And we're actually going to get through a lot of Walking Deads very quickly because we basically played these back to back and we played them as actual episodes, like an episode per episode kind of thing. Back when, I thought I'd have the motivation to do that, and it proved to be very, very painful to do in the end. But season 1, I am definitely putting in amazing. Do I rate it above Saints Row 2? Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say that, personally. Yeah, very good game, of course. The running character through The Walking Dead, the sort of representation of The Walking Dead is Clementine, of course. And she's an amazing character in this, but obviously she's very young in this game, so she's sort of the geotagonist. Is that what you call the secondary protagonist after the main character, which is Lee Everett, who is a fantastic character, and you have such a short amount of time considering. Obviously, it's several hours, but the bond that you really make with Lee over the course of the 5 episodes, to the point that you get to the end of episode 5 and it is absolutely heartbreaking. Again, I'm really worried about whether or not to spoil certain. I know definitely when we get to like Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm not going to spoil it because I know Ron's playing it, and I don't know about other people who are on the channel who may not have seen these Let's Plays and might want to play them themselves. I don't really want to spoil anything, but by the end of episode 5, it's a Walking Dead game. Like it's going to be devastating. And there are certain characters that you might grow to love that you don't see through to the end, and you build up certain relationships with certain characters, you build up hateful ones with other people, and this, that, and the other. And it was a great start to this series. It definitely holds up as one of the greatest of Telltale, and it's what sort of started the franchise, which may have started to fizzle out over time, but it was definitely a great beginning for the series. Okie day. Next on the list is Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Where are you? You are here. Old Tommy Vercetti. And this is the one that I'm definitely going to be putting into the amazing tier. And I am going to place it there, I think. Vice City. I think I'm a self-confessed nerd for the 80s, even though it was a decade I was never born in. I was born 8 years after it ended. I love 80s stuff, and I especially love music from the 80s as much as any of my family and friends can tell you, possibly with some level of annoyance, because I genuinely love 80s music. So even though we never really got to listen to the soundtrack an episode because of the whole copyright thing, playing the game in itself and like in between time listening to the music from that decade was great in itself. And I love the references to TV shows and movies from the 80s, particularly Scarface, which is one of my favourite films. There's a lot of references to Scarface in this. Of course, you've got Tony Vercetti, who is voiced by Ray Liotta, who you might know more as playing Henry Hill in Goodfellas, which is, it came out in 1990, so you can't really call that 80s. But, there's a lot of Henry Hill in Tony Vercetti, although I think he's a lot more of a madman than Henry Hill was. But he's definitely probably the most ruthless Grand Theft Auto protagonist as well. But I do kind of love him, and just the whole sort of 80s vibe of this game I love, because I love the sort of like the colours and the fashion and everything like that. Just it's a decade that fascinates me, and this game is 80s exemplified, so that alone makes me love it so much. But the story itself, as brief as it kind of was, I think was a very good game. Obviously you're trying to find out who fixed up the drug deal, who hit the drug deal at the very start of the game, and Tommy's trying to get back the money and the drugs for Sonny, and then obviously it becomes clear that Sonny's basically screwed him over, and then the whole end of the film is basically Scarface, but he wins rather than what ends up happening to buddy Tony Soprano, Tony Montana. Jesus Christ, I'm crossing over my mob family's here, aren't I? But yeah. Anyway, yeah, Vice City, I have a lot of love for this game. We're in the middle end of VC, and I said, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Well, there you go. See, without Vice City, I probably wouldn't have snuck with Ever as well. So that's an extra bonus point for Vice City there. Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, Vice City, I have a lot of love for this game, and I definitely need to give it a replay. Although, considering, the whole thing about the Grand Theft Auto, the definitive trilogy sort of thing, and there's picked up a lot of hate for that game, so I don't know if I'm in any particular rush to buy that just yet. But yeah, other than that, it was a fantastic game. That was on December 11th, 2017. I can't remember if I said that. And now we move on to Saints Row the Third, which we started on December 15th, 2017. This is the last game we started in 2017, and I'm probably going to take a little bit of a break after this before I move into the games we started in 2018, because my voice is going, and I just need to recuperate. Saints Row the Third, whilst I don't rate it quite as highly as Saints Row 2, I still think it was a phenomenal game, and I am going to put it here. It's a very enjoyable game. Maybe didn't have as many serious elements. It was almost like completely fun, and not a lot of seriousness to it. Although there were some, But I think this is definitely one of those games that I think I've played that game more than a lot of games I played. Probably up there as one of my most replayed games, just because it's so fun, and it can be quite easy. Obviously, it can be quite easy. But there's a lot to do in it. The storyline is really great with taking on the Syndicate. And like I said, I much prefer Stillwater to Steelpaw, but it's still an enjoyable map, even if it is a little bit bland in comparison. But yeah, the storyline's cool. The relationship with Shaundy and Pierce. And of course, the new lieutenants like Oleg and Kinsey and Zemos and Angel. And it's just a lot. It's so much fun. It's one of them ones I can literally, if I ever just want to sit back and just play games and not really think too much about it, Saints Row the Third is easily going to be one of those ones to revisit. And I have done a lot. I've played the original version so many times. I've platinumed it on PlayStation 3. I got all the achievements on PC, and I've also platinumed it the remastered edition that came out a couple of years ago. It's like either last year or the year before. Yeah, it was a really fun game to play, and I don't even think I'll have played that game for the last time. Honestly, I'll probably revisit it within the next year or two, just because it's just fun. It's just fun. But what made that even better was playing that co-op with Ron, and in my own time I played it with Evra as well. Once I played the remastered edition, and that was a great fun as well. But playing that with Ron was a great experience and a great way to sort of re-experience that game and a different thing. It made what was a fun game that much more fun, even if it made certain activities really difficult for some reason. I don't know why it added such a difficulty spike in some areas, but for the most part it was great fun playing co-op, even if we did occasionally keep timing out of each other's games, because that was back in my well, actually I can't even necessarily say yeah, Ron, shut up. Yeah, I can't even really say my internet's particularly amazing now, but back then, there was timing out all the bloody time. But it was really fun. The fun was increased tenfold playing it with a co-op partner, and definitely stands as one of my favourite games. Anywho, like I said, we have reached the end of 2017. We've got 2016 and 2017. So obviously we've got a ways to go yet. I don't know if I'm going to end up doing the entire ranking in this stream. I might end up doing a second one. I don't know. But I do need to rest my throat a little bit, because I've been talking about non-stop for an hour. And obviously I've not recorded anything in a long time. So it's quite unusual for me. But yeah, so I'll be back in probably about 5 or 10 minutes. So go top up your drinks, go grab some snacks. I'm saying this is like the amazing cinematic performance. He's just sitting there like, oh my god, tell me more about all these games that I've seen you play. Or nip to the top, whatever you want to do. But I'll be back at about, let's say, I'll be back at 20 past. I don't know why in my head I was thinking, oh, maybe it's not 20 past for some people. It's the hours that change, not the... Yeah, so 20 past whatever time it is for you right now. We'll continue on with our first game of 2018. So I will see you in a moment. Okay, it's a minute later than I said, but we're back. Okie dokie. So I've got myself a little mini pack of Haribos to put me on in the meantime. Anywho, probably shouldn't talk with my mouth full. We are jumping right back into The Walking Dead. We're actually moving through quite a few Walking Dead games. They're not quite back to back yet. There's like one other game that comes out after this next one, and then it's 3 back to back. So, anywho, we have The Walking Dead 400 Days, which I almost debated whether or not to consider part of the first season because it comes alongside that game, but it also it's to many people it's a separate game. So I'm gonna put I realised I have it up here. I don't rate it that highly. I'd probably put it in the okay. There's none of the great. Sorry, no, I don't know actually. Yeah, you know, I'm gonna put it in okay. I'm gonna put it there. I think. Obviously, it was very short. I think there's almost more of like there are elements of it that actually end up crossing over into season 2. I think there's at least like maybe 1 or 2 characters that crop up there from what I remember. Most of this sort of like standalone stories, so of like a few minutes long, and then they end up crossing over in like the final segment. They're just extra survivor stories, really, mini stories of their own regard of certain characters and what happens to their loved ones, sort of thing. So it was a nice addition, I think, to if you consider it a DLC to season 1, it's just a nice little bonus part. But other than that, it's it's just sort of decent, really. I can't really say anything much more about it, mostly because I don't really remember much about it other than the fact that it's separate stories and they all tie in together at the end. But yeah. So next we come up to our next Assassin's Creed game, Revelations. I'm going to put it there. It's either before or after Vice City, not Brotherhood. No, Revelations. If you've been watching my Assassin's Creed franchise, not my franchise, but fucking Let's Play series, I have made comments in the past about how Revelations was my first Assassin's Creed game that I ever played, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't get very far into the story at all before I ultimately gave up and just sort of was like, yeah, it's just not for me. And it wasn't until later on that I gave Assassin's Creed 3 a try that I really loved it. And I think this, if you're playing it on its own as a standalone game, it doesn't quite do much, because the Constantinople is a great city to explore. It's also quite overwhelming, I think. I say there's a lot to do. There's not a lot to do, but with the whole mechanics and everything like that, I think it can be quite overwhelming if you're not used to the Assassin's Creed style. Like if you've not played like Brotherhood in particular beforehand. The story, like I said, playing Revelations on its own, you got the whole thing with Ezio and then with Altair later on as well. It can be very disorienting doing that on its own without that prior knowledge of what both of them have gone through to lead up to this point. And I didn't have that, so I was just sort of like, I don't know who this character is. Like, it's just, I'm lost. But playing this alongside having, well, I think Assassin's Creed, like the original one, like this one down here, doesn't do many favours for Altair as a character. You see his redemption as you go through the story, but it's not great. It's like, especially considering that the voice actor for Altair was American, even though obviously he's Arabic. I think especially after reading the book, which I think I had done. I had done. By the time I was playing this game. I've read just about all of the Assassin's Creed books, but because it obviously follows Altair later in life. Like it actually does a little bit during, like just prior to Assassin's Creed, just after it, and then as he becomes like an old man, you sort of get that piece together slowly but surely over the story. But of course, Ezio's is very much a sort of conclusion to his arc as he becomes a mentor. Well, he became mentor in Brotherhood, didn't he? But he's already got the skills. He's already had the life lessons of taking out the Borgias and basically restoring the Brotherhood and everything like that. This is just sort of him trying to piece together Altair's story at the end. But when I said that all the games have their individual points that make them better than the others, the story for Assassin's Creed Revelations is for me where it absolutely shines. Obviously, Ezio at his peak. Well, I say peak. He's not really at his peak, but as as a person, like he's very far from the sort of cheeky, charming, but quite hot-headed Ezio that he was in his youth, and then especially shortly after his family had been, after his father and brothers had been killed. He's very far away from that now. He's calmed down a lot, and he's settling down with Sophia and everything like that. And obviously, all of his travels and becoming mentor, it's aged him, but it's given him great wisdom. And I think he's Ezio's sort of at his prime in this game. I think for me, obviously not physically, but like as an actual person, he's great in this game. And to see it all come to its conclusion at the end of the game when he returns to Masyaf with the keys and he finds out what happened to Altair and everything like that, and that final cutscene when Ezio and Altair meet, honest to God, it makes me very more, even just thinking about it, you know, that you have earned your rest, brother, requiescat in pace. Oh my God, it's such a great ending, and I love this game so much. You know, slight criticisms, the fact that it is a lot shorter. I think this came out at about 30 odd episodes as opposed to the 44 and 50 of Assassin's Creed 2. There's not a lot of side content. There's a fair amount of collectibles, but I mean, you got the Peri Rice missions with the bombs and everything, and you get the odd one for because in Brotherhood you had the courtesans and the mercenaries and the thieves, and they all had about at least 3 sets of missions, whereas I think they have about 2 or 3 side missions in its entirety, one for the Romani and one for the Thieves Guild or something like that, and that's it. Other than that, there's the book quests and the finding the layers and stuff like that. There's a few of them, but it's quite basic in that regard. But you know, the storyline itself and the soundtrack is enough to put this very high in my regard. So yeah, I love Assassin's Creed Revelations, and a lot of people say, oh, it's the start of the end. It's like, nah, mate, come on. Revelations is amazing, so shut up. Yeah, so that was January the 7th to January the 18th. We have The Walking Dead Season 2, which had us finally controlling Clementine, who, actually, obviously it takes place almost immediately after Season 1, I think, but she's obviously matured a lot from when we first meet her at the beginning of episode 1 to where she is in Season 2, and she's been taught how to survive in this new world by Lee. And for a lot of it, she's well, it's not for a lot of it really, because she does settle in with a new group pretty soon after, but she is very independent at this point, and it's definitely going in the great category. But whereabouts do I put you? There. Actually, yeah, I'll put it there. So yeah, Clementine was, proved to be a great antagonist. I don't know if she'd been a great protagonist in Season 1 because of how quite defenseless she was and helpless, kind of. But when she's properly matured into a capable survivor and been able to make her own decisions by Season 2, she was a great protagonist. And of course, you get to meet some of the old characters from Season 1, even ones that you didn't think would have made it across, and then there's the whole new cast of characters that you really grow to bond with, and of course the same old thing as Season 1, when they die, it's gutting once again. But yeah, Season 2 was a blast, and definitely something I want to sort of revisit at some point. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Now we jump to February the 6th, where we started The Walking Dead Michonne, which I don't really remember an awful lot about. I'll be completely honest. Obviously, Michonne is actually a proper Walking Dead character from the comics and TV series as well, which I need to get back into, actually, the TV series. I started watching it a couple of years ago, and I got through the entirety of season 1 and the vast majority of season 2, and I really enjoyed it, and then I just sort of fell off it, I suppose. But I'll be honest, I don't really remember a lot about this game, so I'm probably going to put it in the okay tier, probably about there. I think I'm fairly happy with that. Yeah, I've got to be honest. I don't remember much of whether I really enjoyed it or I didn't enjoy it, so it's probably quite middling. Honestly, there's genuinely nothing I can really say about this game. I can't really remember any of it, which obviously means it didn't make that much of an impression on me, especially enough not to think, oh, I want to go back and rewatch that. It's just sort of like, yeah, I did it, I moved on. It's not really tied into anything in the rest of the Telltale Walking Dead series, because that's sort of more of a tie-in with the actual comics and TV show, and the rest of it's sort of like its own universe kind of thing. Even though I think Glenn from the TV series and comic books actually appeared for a brief period in season 1, like the first episode, but everything else is sort of its own thing. So yeah. Anyway, we get to a new frontier, which was the alternate name for season 3, and I think I'm gonna put you there. I think is a fair enough place for it. Probably of the main seasons, so season 1, season 2, New Frontier, the final season, I'd say it's probably the weakest. Didn't really bond with what's his bloody name? I mean, that's not a good sign, is it? When you can't even remember what the protagonist's name was. Actually, I'm going to quickly look that up now. WDAU Frontier. What is the protagonist's name? Javi. There we go. Javier Garcia. There we go. See, so I mean, not a great sign. I can't remember his name, to be honest. I do remember elements of the actual story, though, and obviously I remember Clem obviously shows up for a part, and there's a whole thing with the brother that you've sort of because you've been sort of like doing like a disappointing member of the family kind of thing, and you got to live up to him, who's actually a part of the New Frontier, and you're looking after his wife and their kid, and you're sort of going through it together, and then obviously you come to like some big decisions towards the end of the story. And it was definitely, I remember it being enjoyable, but obviously by this point I'd been basically doing the episodes full length, episode after episode after episode. By this point I was starting to get burned out by it, so I was quite lucky that at the time this was the last Walking Dead game. I think it was. Was it the final season out yet? No, it wasn't. Okay, otherwise I'd have gone straight into it. So yeah, so I might have a little bit of a break after this. But yeah, this is about when I started feeling a bit of burnout for Walking Dead. But like I said, that was on my part really, just because I played them all back to back and at full length. So yeah. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on A New Frontier. Now we've got past the first page, so now we've just got 1.5 pages to go. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to be able to get through all of it, to be honest. Probably just do it for let's see, maybe up till 9 o'clock for me. So that's in 25 minutes time, and then we'll just pick up where we left off in another stream and finish off the ranking. So we get to Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which is down here with old CJ. And I am going to put you, definitely deserves to be in the amazing tier, because let's face it, it's GTA San Andreas. I'm probably going to put it here, and you might be thinking, oh my god, you put it less than Saints Row 2. Like, yeah, I just prefer Saints Row 2, but San Andreas honestly deserves the reputation that it has as being one of the greatest games of all time, you know, let alone being a great GTA game. Like I said, I think my preference for Vice City is because of my actual personal love for the sort of era that the game is set around and how it sort of incorporates that. San Andreas on its own is a great game. The story, you know, you get with the Grove Street Gang, you got CJ, you got Sweet and Kendall and Big Smoke and Ryder, and you got all that stuff. And with Officer Tenpenny, obviously this is the point where GTA was enough of it. Well, obviously I'd Ray Liotta for Vice City. You got like Samuel L. Jackson turning up in this one as well, and a ton of other actual like proper actors and everything like that. But yeah, this is a great game. You know, we got to see Los Santos as well, which was quite cool revisiting it, because I mean I played GTA San Andreas as a kid. Probably shouldn't have done, but I did. But not enough that I had an impact on me as significant as a lot of people had of this being like a nostalgic game from my childhood. I didn't really play it properly for the first time until I was probably in my mid-teens, which I really enjoyed it, but I never finished it because I was playing it 100%, and there was I think it was the bike challenge that you get into basically as soon as you get into the Wastelands. Is that what it was called? The sort of in-between chapter between after the events of the Green Saber and before you start to get to like San Fierro. But I remember there was a bit that I got stuck on for so long I just ended up giving up, and that's one of the things I love about doing this as doing Let's Plays, is that it'll force me to finish games that I never would have done otherwise. And I'm really glad I did, because there's so much to love about this game, and the cast is amazing, the storyline's amazing, the amount of side content is amazing, and yeah, it's definitely something that is worth me revisiting at some point, because I had a ton of fun with San Andreas, and it was also a game that sort of, I can't remember if this carried me into... It did. It carried me into university as well. I was still playing that just as I moved to Huddersfield. So towards the end of that series, obviously I had a lot of change going on in that period. But yeah, I love GTA San Andreas. Next on the list is Shadow of the Colossus, which we actually started on the same day, apparently. We also started on April the 3rd, 2018. So Shadow of the Colossus, where are you? There you are. So we played the remastered edition for the PlayStation 4, and I think it was fucking great. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm probably going to put you here. I realised when I said before about Undead Nightmare staying around here, I just continued pushing it along. But yeah, this is very much off the cuff. I have no idea when I'm placing these things before I do it. Shadow of the Colossus was a game that was actually recommended to me from one of the people I used to work with at my job I had when I was doing part-time at college. And he said that I should get Shadow of the Colossus because obviously it's a great game, and also at the time it was newly remastered. And it was like, oh yeah, you'll pick up a lot of years from that. I didn't. It was basically stagnant. But I really enjoyed playing this game, and I'm really glad that I did it, because I might have never played it otherwise. Even though I mean I might have done, because it's another one of those games like Half-Life 2, where it's like, oh, you've got to play this at some point, otherwise you can't be a game until you play Shadow of the Colossus. But the unique boss battles and all that jazz, it was just the story obviously of you taking down the Colossi, but it feeding the sort of the main villain. I can't remember what its name is off the top of my head. Dormin, that's the one, isn't it? It's the Dormin. Every time you take one of those down, it gives them more power, and then eventually it takes over the Wanda at the end of it, and then you become the embodiment of the Dormin and everything like that. It was fantastic. It really was. Even though the collectibles were a pain in the arse to find, because it was so awkward. Because I'd never managed to find one map that just had all the apples and all the lizards and all the shrines on it. I had to physically get 3 maps and put them all on top of each other, and then even then it was because it was quite open a lot of the time. Oh, and the coins as well, which got added in, and no one really knew how many bloody coins there were. And then, I think they said I think there was 79 at the end of it, wasn't there? Because it was like the 79 steps or something like that. There's a lot of it that was quite confusing at times, but I really enjoyed it otherwise. The story itself was great, and the music and the setting and everything. It was a fantastic game, and I really rate it. So we finally moved into, we've only really just covered it, but into our next Assassin's Creed game, which we started on May the 24th, 2018. Assassin's Creed 3, which, you know what, despite all the shit that I give it, I'm going to put it in the great category, and I am going to put, it's going to be quite low down in the great category. I'm probably going to put it there, I think. I do, you know, I have a lot of credit to give to Assassin's Creed 3. This was the one that sort of made me fall in love with the franchise, but it's just sort of every time I played another game, I just preferred it to this one. So I think actually my favourite protagonist of the two was Haytham in this one. Obviously, you only play Haytham for the first 3 sequences, and then there's the big drop. You are a Templar. We've been following a Templar this entire time, and then you take on Connor later on, or Ratanaketon if you want to go by his Native American name, which I probably butchered the pronunciation of. But it was very unique, and I think it was what it was great at doing particularly was something that got developed even more so in Assassin's Creed Rogue, which was sort of dulling the inherent sort of good guys versus bad guys of the Assassins and the Templars, and because the Templars become more believable in this game and, you know, actually likable. But you still do get your straight up arsehole Templars like Charles Lee and what was his name? Church. I can't remember his first name. Was it Benjamin Church or Thomas Church? I can't remember what it was. The guy who turned out to be like who actually Haytham gets so fed up with that he decides to join up with Connor to assassinate because he's that much of a menace to the Templars. But you know, you got the likes of Haytham and William Johnson and Pitcairn and no, maybe not Hickey. Because he's not even doing it to be a proper Templar, just because he thinks that's what's going to give him the money for it. But, you know, characters like that, like even though obviously it's from the perspective of like the British, and they're still painted as the enemy in the whole American Revolutionary Wars and everything like that, they're shown to have good intentions, even if they are a bit stupid. But I liked that about Assassin's Creed 3. I think that was one of its better points, as the fact that, and also, you know, the fact is that Connor's not as charismatic an assassin as Ezio, so he's quite harder to get along with than Ezio was, for example. But also we did get 3 games with Ezio and just the one with Connor. Not even a game. You got 3/4 of a game with Connor. But the likes of like Achilles as well, like he's not the greatest assassin, let's be honest, and I think that definitely gets emphasised more in Rogue. But like, I like that it's not a straight up, as it was with the Borgias, like, oh, these guys are clearly just absolute scumbags, and Ezio is there walking in like absolute Prince Charming to fix everything. Like, boo the Templars, yeah, the Assassins. I love that it does dilute it a little bit more than that. But yeah, so the storyline is definitely one of the highlights of Assassin's Creed 3, in my opinion, and I love the homestead missions and everything like that. But I think if you move straight into that after the Ezio trilogy, and you don't really feel the bond with Connor that you did with even with Haytham. I thought Haytham was a charming son of a bit. I mean, it might be just because he's British. You're thinking, there you go, that's a Brit. You know, he's proper charm. He's a proper gent. Everything like that. But yeah, there's a lot to like about this game, but also there's a lot that's sort of like I'm not as big a fan of. I think the Frontier was enthusiastic, you know, they wanted to try something new, and obviously with the hunting and everything like that and the crafting of items, it was good, but it got grindy, and I'm also not a fan of the thing about the map not filling in when you synchronize points. It just synchronizes the area, and then you've actually got to go into the areas and fill out the map. I don't like stuff like that, which inherently sort of puts a dampener on that and Liberation, but I'm glad that they sort of changed that for the future games. Well, they changed it, I said that, but you know, they went back to the formula that the previous games have gone to. So there's that, and some of the side missions are a bit dull when you're getting like the item request lists and the frontiersman letters and everything like that. But you know, there were some interesting bits as well, like with the legendary animal, they're not legendary animals, that's Red Dead Redemption 2, but you know what I mean, like the unique missions in that regard, they were quite interesting. So there's a lot to love about this game, but there's elements of it that just make me not love it as much as the other ones, so to speak, but you get what I mean. So, AC3 done, now we move into Batman Arkham City, which we started on June the 1st, 2018, which you are here. And of course, I think this absolutely deserves to go in the amazing category, and I am going to put it there, I think. Yeah, obviously a huge step up from Arkham Asylum, because now I think they had the budget for it, and they thought, okay, this works. Let's go big and beyond here. Well, let's throw in. Oh well, actually, I realised when I forgot what I was saying, I got naming off all the people that were in Arkham Asylum. I forgot to mention the Riddler, but you've got Joker again, who's mutating with the effects of his blood being compromised by the Titan formula. Is it Titan? I think it was Titan. Then you've got all the side missions with Bane, and you've got Mr. Freeze, and you've got Penguin, and you've got Ra's al Ghul, and Professor Strange, and everything like that. There's so many cool side characters in this game, and the side stories, the Most Wanted, with Buddy Hush as well, the murder mystery. It was so cool, and Arkham City was a great world to explore. Even if it was relatively short, when you think about it, it's just more like a U-shape kind of thing. But I thought it was really cool to explore, like the amusement park and the museum and the subway and everything like that. There was so much to love about this game, and the fact that I was more comfortable with the controls this time as well, which made it a lot easier for me, even though it wasn't easy. Like the challenge maps again proved to be a pain in the ass because there were so many of them, and then the campaigns were introduced in this one as well. Which, well, actually, I say introduced. They were in this in Origins, and they thankfully took them out of Arkham Knight. But yeah, there were tricky elements to this game, but enough to make it really enjoyable. And I think everyone rates Arkham City as one of, if not the best, like superhero game. And I am inclined to agree. I really enjoyed Arkham City. It was a ton of fun. Right, okay. Now we're moving to another Batman Let's Play, but not of Arkham City, not of the Arkham universe. We actually get to Batman the Telltale series. This is actually what Season 1 was called, because it was called Batman the Telltale series, then Batman the Enemy Within. So the Telltale series I actually really enjoyed, to be honest. So I'm going to put it relatively high up. Did I enjoy it more than Arkham Asylum? I'd say yes. I think I'm going to put it there. Now, if I remember correctly, Telltale series was dealing with what was she called? I know what her proper name was. It was like was it the Children of Arkham or something like that, or Lady Arkham or something like that, and dealing with like mysterious deaths and everything like that. But I think, honestly, considering that you've got like The Walking Dead that's been sort of like diluted over the course of several seasons, some that worked out better than most. Of the Telltale series I've played, probably the Batman one is my favourite. I really enjoyed it, and makes me happy that Telltale's been bought out and is continuing to work on games. Obviously, I think they're working on a Wolf Among Us 2, which I actually need to play the first one. It's definitely on my go-to list, but hopefully that means we'll get a Season 3, and I realise I probably shouldn't be talking about Season 3 without talking about Season 2 first, but obviously you've got the separate enjoyable elements to playing both Bruce Wayne and Batman, of course. I can't remember if it was this one or The Enemy Within that had the side thing with Harvey Dent becoming Two-Face as well. In fact, I'm just going to grab The Enemy Within, and I'm probably going to put it just slightly higher. Harvey Dent was in this one, wasn't it? Because in The Enemy Within, it was Joker, and you were dealing with John Doe, and then you sort of you were working undercover to find out what was going on with. I think it was like because the Riddler starts off with it, doesn't it? And then the Riddler gets killed, and then you're trying to work out what's going on. I can't really remember. I should revisit these. But you're building a relationship up with who would become the Joker, and then by the end of the series, he either becomes, depending on how you treated him, either becomes sort of like a vigilante like Batman, but more inclined to kill, sort of like how Red Hood turned out, I suppose, or he just becomes full Joker-like and starts wars with Batman and that sort of thing. And I think in mine, he ended up becoming sort of like a vigilante, didn't he? But yeah, I really enjoyed these two games a lot, and I really hope they do a Season 3, because I would definitely be playing that, especially with the way that this left off, because you were sort of left with the choice at the end of whether or not you continue being Batman or you give it up and become Bruce Wayne, and then that had an impact as to whether or not Alfred stayed as well. And there's the whole thing with Selina Kyle as well, which I think was really well done in these two games. Bruce Wayne's relationship with Selina Kyle, hence Batman's relationship with Catwoman, everything like that. It was really great in these two games. I really enjoyed playing them, and yeah, like I said, I really hope they do season 3. Yeah, so that was Back with Telltale series was June 28th, and Enemy Within was July 24th. So yeah, we move into another standalone, The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, which was released as, again, almost like Lost Coast, as a sort of introduction to the mechanics that would come in Life is Strange 2. But, you know, saying that, I can't really put it in meh, because it is actually a very good little bonus thing, and I'm going to put it... Actually, I might put it in okay. I think I'll put it there, actually. It is only a standalone thing, and obviously you're introduced to... What's his name? This is not good. I'm not very good with characters' names today, am I? It's not coming to me. It's not Daniel, that's Life is Strange 2, isn't it? I'm going to look this up again. If I can click the bloody thing. The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit. Chris, that's his name. So you got Chris, and how he sort of embodies his alter ego, and how that sort of deals with his relationship with his dad, who's very depressed after his mum. Well, I've just forgotten his name again. Jesus Christ. Have I literally just forgotten what his bloody name is? There we go. Watch myself. Yeah, and I couldn't see myself, but I did. I've literally just forgotten Chris. My God, I'm not paying attention, am I? Yeah, Chris's mum dies in like a car accident, I think, or something like that, and obviously his dad's depressed, and then his neighbours start getting suspicious, and then I think they call the police on a bit from child negligence, that sort of thing, and then that ends up leading into events of one of the episodes in Life is Strange 2. So yeah, but it was a cool little thing. Yeah, I really enjoyed it for what it was, but it is just a standalone thing, really. So yeah. Anyway, now we move into The Walking Dead, the final season, which obviously took a while to do because I was playing these as they came out. But overall, I think it's probably it deserves to be up here, and I think I'm probably going to put it just down here. I don't quite rate it as highly as season 1, but I still think it's an amazing game and a lovely way to wrap up the Walking Dead franchise. And even though Telltale's coming back, I really hope they do leave the final season as the final season, and they don't sort of go like, no, we're just going to change it to season 4 and then carry on, because I think it was a perfect way to bow out Clementine's story. And obviously she's raising AJ, who was the son of a couple of the characters in season 2, and I think season 3 was about Clementine trying to find AJ and all that malarkey. But it was a great little bond between those two, and of course you go to the school where there's all the kids that are survived and everything like that. Yeah, it was really great, and obviously it tied together elements from all the seasons of the Walking Dead prior to that. And obviously the ending as well caught me off guard for sure, and obviously I'm not going to spoil it in case people haven't still played it, but obviously I cried in the final episode because of the way that I thought it was going, and then, you know, thankfully it turned a little bit better than I thought at first. But it was a beautiful end to the series, and it was, even though I feel like Telltale deserved, at least the administration that was running Telltale at the time the final season was coming out, deserved what they got about being shut down because of the way that some of the ways that they put through their employees, it wasn't great whatsoever. Like the crunch periods and everything like that. You know, a lot of people got laid off, and it was ridiculous. But I am glad it's been picked up again, and I hope that they'll treat the staff with a bit more respect and give them more. What I'm trying to think of here. Like benefits to working for the company, I suppose. I can't really think of the right word I'm trying to use here, though. But yeah, but I hope they leave The Walking Dead alone. If they do come back out, they give us an extra bit of Batman, Wolf Among Us, anything else, I don't care, but just leave Walking Dead now. Leave that there. It was a nice ending, and as much as they could explore with different people, they don't need to. I think it's well and truly covered. Now we get to Uncharted, Drake's Fortune. So, which we began on August the 28th, 2018, and I am going to put it in great, actually. I think all of the Uncharted games were actually really good. I'm going to put it probably low down, maybe here, because it is a lot shorter than the other ones, but it's also one that I've probably played the most, because I actually ended up getting platinum on it, plus the extra trophies for the Nathan Drake collection, so I've done it on Brutal as well, and all the trophies on that. And yeah, a lot of people don't really give much love for Drake's Fortune, to be honest, which is quite sad, because I think it really stands as a great game. Obviously, when you compare it to the others, especially Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 4, it doesn't quite live up to those levels of great storytelling, but in itself, I think Drake's Fortune is a great game. And you know, the mystery of El Dorado, and giving us Nathan Drake and Sully, the greatest duo. It's one of the greatest duos of all time. And of course, you got Elaine. Is it Elaine? I think it's Elaine, isn't it? I'm really not good with getting names today, am I? But yeah, so give her as well, and all that stuff for the El Dorado stuff. I thought it was a really great game, and I think it deserves more loving than it gets from the Uncharted fan base. I think a lot of people crap on that game, but I thought it was a really great game. We'll do a couple more, and then I think we'll call it for today. So we move into Life is Strange 2. Where are you? And I'm going to put Life is Strange 2, as painful as it might be for some people, I think I'm going to put it in the OK tier. I think I'm going to put it at the top end of the OK tier, though. I think this is one of the ones that I definitely should have waited to play altogether as one, but I think it goes to show that I could remember most of the story details in the final season as between episodes, you know, because sometimes there've been months in between, and I'd still sort of genuinely remember where it was that we left off and the relationships we had with certain characters. Life is Strange 2, almost every time we came to a new episode, I'd almost completely forgotten what we did in the last one, and I'd have to look it up or rely on Sean's sort of retelling in the form of a story between each one. I still think it was a good game, and it was, you know, I think it's just because it got sort of it being Life is Strange and me going into this expecting it to be on the same level as season 1 was, and it just wasn't for me. As much as I love the relationship between Sean and Daniel, and obviously they went through some really tough times with with their dad dying as a result of police brutality, which was a very powerful message for the game to send. And you know, we met some cool characters along the way, and managed to, you know, finally get that gay relationship that Life is Strange basically emphasizes in every game, and that I seem to keep missing. Like, just go straight past it. I finally got it between Sean and is it Finley or something like that? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been that long, and I've not really thought about it since. But yeah, I'm not, like I said before when I was talking about season 1, I wasn't really a fan of the fact that the superpower was just basically telekinesis, and it wasn't even us, it was Daniel that had that power. So there are elements that I'm not as big a fan of in this game, but I still think it was a good game in of itself. But I should have approached it in the way that I did True Colours. I am doing True Colours, I should say. That I was sort of taking my time with it and playing it all together, so I wasn't forgetting like story beats in between recording sessions. But it is what it is, and I think we'll finish with one last one. So actually, you know what? We'll do 2 more. We'll finish off with 2018. So we'll do 3 more. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, which we started on October the 26th, 2018. Where are you? There you is. And that definitely deserves to go high up into great. I would say Uncharted 2 maybe is a bit, yeah, I'll put you there, I think. Again, this is one of the ones that's regarded as one of the greatest games of all time, and you know, for good reason. It's a great story to advance through Nate's journey, and making your way through to the. It was that tree, wasn't it? The Tree of Life, or whatever it was called, in the Hidden City. And yeah, it was a really great game. It had some great story moments, especially when you're up in the. Is it in Nepal? I think it's in Nepal when you're in the mountains and that sort of chapter. And yeah, there's so much to love in this game, and I'm missing story beats in my head. It's been a while since I've played it, but obviously I remember some key details, and obviously you got the iconic bit with the train fight and hanging off the train. It's an iconic gaming scene and everything like that. But yeah, I really enjoyed Uncharted 2, and I was gonna say maybe we should revisit it sometime, but I think I actually ended up giving it the same love that Drake's Fortune ended up getting, where I platinumed and then did it on Brutal as well. And I remember it took me bloody ages because there were some really tricky moments in that game. But yeah. Anyway, Uncharted 2. So we move on to Grand Theft Auto 4, which we started on October 30th of 2018, which is our second to last one of the year. So let's see, GTA 4, where do I put you? You're definitely great. It was a great game. Probably put it there, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I think because this is the first game in the HD universe, and back to Liberty City this time with Niko Bellic, the Serbian veteran, who basically came because his cousin Roman promised him, money and fame and women and luxury apartments and everything, and then it turns out to be a complete opposite of that. But I think it was actually quite a deep, sad story, which is quite different for Grand Theft Auto. Usually, it's the serious stories, but with like a hint of humor in there. And I think GTA 4 is probably the darkest GTA story so far. It's very critical of the American dream, which it's quite ballsy of an American game, I think, to be very critical of something that is very fundamental to the way of life of a lot of people. But it's very brutally honest, and I actually, Niko is a very good protagonist, I think, and I think he's a really cool guy to follow around. Lots to do in the game as well. There are elements that I'm not a massive fan of. Obviously, the bloody friendship activities, and then obviously if you don't keep on top of it, people start hating you. So it's keeping it 100% with things is annoying, and all the romance stuff. It was a nice touch, and I like what they were trying to do with it. I just don't think it went too well, and I think they did it better in GTA 5. Obviously the driving mechanics were quite tricky in this game, and of course with the episodes from Liberty City, which we'll be covering next stream presumably. But yeah, so that was quite tough as well. But once you get the hand of it, it was quite nice and unique. The missions were tough in this game as well, but they didn't give you no mercy with this one. I remember bloody the snow. I can't remember what was it called. The one where you're covering the cocaine. That's a very tricky one. And 3 Leaf Clover when you're hitting the Bank of Liberty City with the McCreary brothers as well. That was definitely a tough one as well. So it doesn't hold your hand through this game at all, but once you do it, it's very gratifying, and it's definitely a game that I'm very proud of the Let's Play of this one. I really enjoyed it. And our final one is Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception, which is down here, which I am going to probably put about here, I think. Yeah, once again, like I said, I can't really fault at any of the Uncharted games. I think they're all really good. Uncharted 3 was also a very good game. I think I've not really given that one that much love in my own time like I have done Uncharted 1 and 2. So I definitely need to revisit that at some point soon when I have the time for it, really. Of course, once again, it looks more into the past, doesn't it, with Nate and Sully, and you have the chapters when they're young, and then the whole thing with, what was it? It was sort of like the ultimate treasure, wasn't it? Like that. It's picking back up with Francis Drake, isn't it? He had another treasure or something like that had been hid out in like the hidden city. There's a lot of hidden cities in this this franchise, isn't there? But I remember dealing with Marlowe as well. Is that what her name is? And Tolbeck or something like that. You know, they're both British. You know, they like vilifying the British because, you know, what doesn't like vilifying the British? But yeah, I thought it was a great game, and definitely something I should revisit at some point. Okay, so this is what we have left. We have Alien Isolation, Liberation HD, Fall Back Flag, Assassin's Creed, I should say, Freedom Cry, Rogue, Unity, Arkham Origins Blackgate, Dark Knight, Dot 2 at a Time, Lost and Damned, Baldur's Gate Tony, GTA 5, Guys of the Wolf, Journey, Last of Us, Little Nightmares, Outlast 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, Resident Evil 2, Saints 4, Guide of Hell, Simpsons Hit and Run, Soma, Tomb Raider, Uncharted 4, Uncharted Lost Legacy, Edith Finch, Witcher 1, Witcher 2. So we got through a lot there. We definitely got through a lot. Ended up going on, what was it, 2 hours? But yeah, I think that's about where I'm going to leave it there, I think. And we'll pick this up in another stream when I can, really. I don't know when that's going to be. It won't be tomorrow because I'm working. Well, actually, I'm working every day now till January the 3rd. But I've already got plans for then, so it'll probably have to be sometime when I've got when I'm on an early shift or something like that. So I can't make any promises as to when this next stream will be. It'll probably be the next thing I upload, though. I don't think I'm going to get back to uploading regular content for a little while longer. Like I said, mostly it's because I just can't. I just don't have the time to do it, really. But yeah, I hope to be back soon, though. I do hope to be. I'm in the position now that I want to record. It's more the fact I don't have the time to do it. Or by the time that I do have time, I'm knackered. So yeah, when I do come back, which I will at some point, when I do, I think it's key to emphasize I'm most likely going to be coming off the schedule. So I'm not going to try and get 10 videos out every week. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's just going to be a case of recording and editing and uploading when I can. That's just the truth of the situation. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream, and yeah, it's just a case of yeah, I'll try and come back and do this next part when I can. I'll keep you guys updated, though. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys, and hopefully I wasn't too much of a bore.